If you go to any major museum of art, you'll see figures dressed in white, red, different blues, pinks, greens, black, yellow ochres. But very rarely will you come across figures clad in pure or nearly pure yellows. Van Gogh and Bonnard frequently used yellows, as did Turner in his landscapes. There are other exceptions, but compared to the countless millions of paintings in museums, they amount to a small handful. Then there's Vermeer. Of the some 34 paintings that are attributed to him, 12, a third of his work, have figures that are clad in yellow, unlike any other painter in the history of Western art. He may have had a predilection for yellow, but more importantly, he was always creating difficult challenges for himself, working things out and solving problems. Yellow is used differently each time, with a different background color, in a different position, and spatial placement. This is true for all of his paintings. Sometimes the figures are centered, sometimes not. Sometimes the figure is in the foreground, sometimes in the middle ground, sometimes further back. Then there are the portraits. Part of his extraordinary use of color comes from the way he applies paint, in layer over layer of translucent glazes that create an incredible glow and shimmer, something that can only be truly appreciated when viewing the actual painting. The dress and the map rod in Woman with a Picture is modeled by building up the most delicate translucent layers. Then, rather than using a brown like most artists would, the blue is carried over to model the eyes and face, preceding what the Impressionists did by a couple of centuries. A chair that had originally occupied the bottom corner was painted out in order to create a much more dynamic image. To figure out the compositions would have taken painstaking work, endlessly arranging and rearranging the elements until he arrived at a satisfactory solution for each painting. Sometimes narratives are created by implying a continual sense of time, whether in a Rubens hunting scene or the more tranquil domesticity of Dutch genre paintings. Then there's Vermeer. In 6 of his paintings, the narrative centers around letters. However, rather than knowing what is going to happen next, no clue is given about the news the woman is about to receive. Who is the letter from? Is it related to the letter she herself is in the middle of writing? Is she waiting for some news of importance? Will something happen or not? Other artists painted women reading letters, but it is how Vermeer did it that sets him apart. The stillness contrasted with a sense of drama. We have what looks very much like a pregnant woman, completely absorbed in her letter with her mouth slightly open, and the composition stripped down to the few essential elements. Who is it from? What sort of news is it? And is it related to her pregnancy? I can think of no other painter, at least until the 20th century, who purposefully created such an air of mystery around the narrative. In most portraits, the sitters retain their pose indefinitely, frozen in time. But in Girl with the Pearl Earring, you don't know if she is turning towards you or away from you, if she is caught by surprise or about to say something. Is she in movement or is she holding that position for a minute? No other portrait that I can think of does the same. It seems that pregnant women were hardly ever painted in the Netherlands in the 17th century, and from that some have argued that neither did Vermeer, and that appearance is due to the bulky clothes that were worn at the time. In Woman with a Balance, not only does she look to be obviously pregnant, but the jacket front is undone. as if he is proudly announcing the fact to the world. So the other possibility is that an artist whose work revolved around painting women with the strongest sense of love and purity loved his wife who was pregnant 15 times in 2 decades, and found her beautiful to paint in that state, contrary to the norms of the day. Everything that Vermeer did was in the pursuit of his own vision. Every element of his painting is so meticulously thought out and executed. Nothing is ever mechanical, and to reduce him to a copyist, to someone whose work can be explained through the use of a camera obscura, is to miss his art, his inventiveness, his individuality, his sharp sense of observation, and his poetry. Gherardo painted more intricate details, yet he is far from being Vermeer. De Gucht and Terborch painted wonderful genre scenes, yet they are far from being Vermeer. There are many paintings of people playing instruments, reading and writing letters, doing domestic chores, yet they do not have the same sense of composition, color, and light that makes Vermeer outstanding. So what is it exactly that he did?